In recent times, I have picked up many pieces of equipment, including but not limited to that HP Vectra VL400 down there. I also got the VL420, I picked up an HP DC7600, and some miscellaneous parts, some of which you can see in that stack right there. A lot of people wrote in and said, "That's cool!" And it is. You want to see something that's really cool? Feast your eyes on this. That's right. This is an Advantech. Looks like a monitor. Well, it's obviously not a monitor. It's obviously a computer. What kind of computer? Well, I will admit to you that I really don't even know. At least not most of the details. Because I haven't really powered it up yet. I don't know what this is. Maybe some kind of a sensor? Maybe it was supposed to be on both sides, I don't know. I have cleaned the display, but I have not cleaned anything else. So the display is mostly clean at least. And that is pretty much that. So we'll go ahead and turn this around. We'll have a look here. See a floppy drive, an optical drive, laptop style optical drive, and 2 PCMCIA card slots. So I don't know. You know, of course, now that I've done that, I can't get those back in. Oops, that was kind of stupid. Anyway, whatever. 2 PCMCIA card slots. I think, well, actually, it's 2 Type 2, 1 Type 3. So I guess that would make this almost like a hybrid laptop computer. I'm not really sure. Use a data plate. PPC-120T-RT. Look at that voltage range. Made in January of 2001. Looks like the serial number down there. Made in Taiwan. We'll go ahead and have a look down here. Look at all those serial ports. 4 serial ports. Curiously, it's got a VGA output. I don't know what the utility of that would be. There's a parallel printer port above it. A joystick port. Again, I'm curious what the utility of that would be, considering this is actually an automation computer, or it would presumably be an automation control. At least based on that right there. I mean, it says automation with PCs, so that's what I'm assuming the deal is with this thing. That's what it would have been used for. You can probably just barely make them out there. There's 2 USB ports. There's audio inputs and outputs. Again, I question the utility of that. There's an Ethernet port, brightness and contrast controls, and then underneath here, which you might be able to make out, we've got the power input and the power switch. And there's also one, I think there's one, certainly only one broken out on the bottom of the machine, but there's one expansion slot, and presumably this right here would be used to access that. So, that's all well and good. But what is it? I still haven't answered that question. Well, other than by saying I don't really know. What I do know about it, just based off of research on the internet, and I think I'm going to switch over to my wide-angle lens before I continue, because this is a really narrow field. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I think that is much better. What I do know about this thing, based on research, is that it is a Pentium MMX-based computer. Now, that's kind of interesting, considering that this was made in 2001. I guess it's being in the automation field means that it's sort of, kind of, sort of embedded computer, maybe not really. I don't really know, but I would have figured that the Pentium would have long since been retired by then. You know, things like the Pentium 3 or the Pentium 2 would have taken over, but maybe it's a thermal constraint, I don't know. But what I do know is that it does power on, at least it did once, so we'll have to see if this thing actually survived the trip home. Let me get a keyboard, power cord, and all of that, and we're going to go ahead and give it a shot. Okay, other things I know about this thing just from basic research is that it's got a 2.5-inch hard drive for some reason, even though it looks like it's more than large enough to work with a 3.5-inch drive. But I didn't pay too much attention to the spec sheet, and I don't remember what the spec sheet really all said, other than what I've already mentioned, and the few of the things that I can see on the outside, so the rest of it we're going to figure out by flicking the power switch. If I can find it. Where's the power switch? There it is. On it comes. See if it actually works. I have a scroll lock LED. It did work once. I don't know, did it survive the trip home? I'm almost beginning to wonder if it didn't. I hear bad fan bearings. Fire to turn it off. Turn it back on. There it goes. Chip 65550, delete to enter setup. It actually recognizes my keyboard, which it does. Look at that. I don't know, can you read that? It's a little hard to read on this particular camcorder. I might have to get another camera. Okay, and that wasn't hugely better, and it still really isn't, but I hope you can get some kind of an idea as to what's going on here. It's that wretched sunlight. That's what's causing all our troubles. This is about as far as I can move it. That's actually pretty good. Let me leave it there. Anyway, this is running an award BIOS, as we can see. The date and time are completely incorrect. Looks like primary and secondary are auto, which is good because I don't know any of the details about them. So what do we have? Looks like 128 megabytes of memory. I'm going to set this. What is today? Today is February 2nd. Well, it's on your screen, so you can see it. What am I using to set? Oh, I guess I'm going to use these. Yeah, that's right. I have to use the number pad. Even though number lock is off. I don't really know how that works. It's just weird. It is 12:11. That's cool by me. It's military time, but it's not going to matter. Drive is installed. EGA, VGA is fine. Everything there should be okay, so we'll escape out of that. BIOS features, virus warning. Hope you can read this. CPU cache, external cache, paradigm self-test. Boot sequence is C or A. That is what, C drive and A, so that's... Hold on a minute. Yeah, we should have a CD-ROM boot in there. No, whatever. Boot up floppy seek enabled, number lock, system speed is high, memory parity check. What if I enable that? I might just leave it alone. This probably won't have to matter. Typematic delay. I used to remember what that was actually for, but now I don't. Palette snooping. Again, that's something else I used to remember, but now I don't. Shadow ROM, I do remember that. That was for if you had something like a SCSI controller. And because ROM is slow, it's 8 bits wide, that if you wanted that to be fast, you would shadow your ROM, but you'd have to know where in the memory map that it is. You can see here there's a whole bunch of different options, such as, for example, we've got the video BIOS shadowed, and these are all various memory addresses. You'd have to know where everything's being shadowed, and you would go ahead and you would enable one of these. But we don't have any ROMs in here, so that should be okay. Chipset features, what do we got? Looks like we could do a little bit of overclocking if we really wanted to. We have CAS latency stuff here. That's for the memory. But I don't see any clock ratio thing for the CPU. But anyway, maybe we could do some minor overclocking, but I don't really care. Power management, pretty straightforward. What did I just click on? Plug and play configuration. Maybe you assign all your IRQs, and you used to have to know all of that, but you don't anymore. Integrated peripherals. That's where you can enable and disable stuff, like say if you have an add-in SCSI board and you don't want the IDE, you can turn it off. Password, IDE, hard drive auto detection. Look at that. Select primary master. Let's see. Let's use normal. We should have LBA. It's a 10 gig hard drive. You can see that here. We need LBA, so I want Y. I'll just put in Y. You don't have a primary slave. So that should all be okay. Secondary master. Again, same deal. So we might actually have a problem with this. What did it put in the CMOS? Yeah, that probably was not a good idea. So let's go ahead and change that back to auto, which is where it was. That should be auto. So, yeah, we won't do that again. So we'll go ahead and we'll save and exit. See if it actually boots now. 65.555. Yep, Pentium MMX 233 megahertz. So that is actually correct. And we're testing all the RAM. If only all memory tests could be that quick. Floppy seek. DJSA 210. CMOS checksum error. Really? I hope it kept the settings past a warm boot. NT workstation. This ought to be interesting. Let's see if I can get into this. It's NT4. I have a system somebody else's. Oh, the Tegra 8000 is running NT4. Service Pack 6, so somebody did bother to update it. Who knows if it's actually updated correctly. Because if you, I remember with, I think NT, it's still this way with NT4, if you apply hotfixes, you had to reinstall the service pack. And there were other reasons why you had to reinstall the service pack too, particularly language packs, I believe, were another reason to have to reinstall the service pack. Oh, it was annoying. Much better now with... What if the touchscreen is actually working? Are you kidding me? There's no password? I guess not. I don't know if the touchscreen works. Oh boy. Okay, well that was interesting. The touchscreen actually does work. That beep is annoying. So I'm probably going to have to figure out how to disable that. But look at that. Everything works. Unfortunately, you can't do right-clicking with that. Yeah, I just heard a clunk on that hard drive. Sure, I don't care. Let's see. Well, I know who it was registered to and all of that now. That is fairly annoying. Who am I logged in as? Not the best touchscreen in the world. So what do we got? Wow, the whole drive is pretty much filled. Okay. So I'm going to do some experimentation with this. What all do we have installed? Probably not a whole lot. Got accessories. So I think I'm going to experiment with this. I'm going to check the health of the hard drive, certainly. But I think I'm going to have a little bit of an experiment with this. Where's my Ultimate Boot CD? I'm going to put that in there and have a look at the hard drive. Okay, another apology I must make. I didn't realize that this camcorder, I forgot this one has got a problem with the focus. I don't know what is wrong with it. But, so that was probably wildly zooming in and out of focus. But basically, everything works like it's supposed to. So, IE5, what on earth? 6.0 2600, really? That is the most useless version number string I've ever seen in my life. Let's open it. If it'll let us. There we go. You have to tap it a whole bunch of times to get it to open. Yeah, this page cannot be displayed. That's perfectly okay by me. I just want to see what version of IE it actually is. IE 6. That's a pretty accurate digitizer if it's working all the way up there. Usually they don't. Z-axis demonstration. Let's open that. That wasn't very helpful, now was it? Get out of here. Okay. I will definitely, I'm not going to keep this version of Windows on here. I'm actually thinking about installing Windows 2000 and using this in the low-end radio studio. I may even be daring enough to upgrade the RAM and put Windows XP on it, but I mean, at 128 megabytes of memory, you can do that, but good luck running anything on that. It doesn't work very well. So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and, before I turn it all the way off, I'm going to eject the optical drive, and I'm going to find my Ultimate Boot CD, and we'll put that in there. Now, this is more of an involved video than I was hoping to get into, because apparently in order for this thing to keep the CMOS settings, it needs to have a good CMOS battery. Don't really know why that's a requirement, but it is. So I gotta get it apart somehow. Figure out what screws are where. Actually, before I even do get the machine apart, I gotta take the stand off. Now I changed tapes because I ran out of tape on the other camera, and I have also changed back to this camera because it's actually easier to use this camera than it is to take this one off the tripod and then put it back on the tripod because it's not a quick release tripod. But I found the battery. You can see I've put it all back together. It's not what I was expecting it to be. Turn on the video light. You might be able to see underneath the floppy drive connection there is something of interest. And if I move the floppy drive connection without screwing around too much, anyway, you'll have to take my word for it. That thing right there, that black chip, that's our battery. What is it? It's not a Dallas module. It is actually an ST Microelectronics Snaphat module. Why they used one of those, I will never know. Could have just, you see even silk screening on the board for it. They should have just used a regular CR2032. They had the space on the board to do it. But instead they decided to use that, which means that I'm going to have to find one of those. And those, I don't know how expensive they are now, but they certainly weren't cheap when they were new. So I don't know if I'm ever going to be replacing the CMOS battery in this thing, so I guess that I'm going to be stuck with trying to get the NT4 installation to work, because I can't boot to a CD-ROM, and it's booting to the hard drive before it's booting to the floppy for some stupid reason. I don't know why that is. It's not keeping the CMOS settings across a warm reboot, which is also kind of stupid, considering how new this thing is. Anyway, that's what's going on. I'm going to put this thing all back together, and that will be that. But we can actually get a look at the insides here. There's the chipset, SIS chipset, which is kind of disgusting, but it is what it is. Looks like a 582, so that's not too bad, really. Some of the newer SIS chipsets are crap. Then again, at least it's not NVIDIA. Here's the hard drive. One of those IBM Travel Stars. I may replace that with something that's a little more reliable. Those aren't very good drives. But I gotta put this thing back together, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, fire it back up. Let's see if it works still. Yeah, it's decided that it doesn't want to work. I didn't even get a keyboard out of it this time. Oh wow, why is it not working? Who knows? Probably some stupid reason. I didn't do anything, so why is it not working? Of course it's not working. There we go. Good old percussive maintenance will actually make it work. Or maybe not, because it doesn't realize that my keyboard's plugged in. Now it does. It flashed it. Whatever. Anyway. Yeah, let's set that back to... Let's try setting that to something. Let's just set it to February 1st. Try and save and exit. Oh, push escape. I was pushing the space bar. Whoops. Yeah, I'm used to the space bar. Okay, so that's all well and good. Delete to enter setup. Well, it managed to keep that, so I don't know why it can't keep. Strange. Yeah, it changed it back to CA. I don't know why it's doing that. That seems kind of stupid. Because if it can keep this, it should be able to keep everything. So I'm guessing that it's not setting a bit somewhere. Maybe I'll have to flash it with a BIOS that actually works. I don't know. But, kind of annoying because it defaults to booting the hard drive, which is weird. That's not really a usual default. Seems like an awfully good way to lock down a system by doing that. But that's exactly what's going on. So we'll just boot into NT, and I'll have to figure out details about how I'm going to get this to work. It's got audio, that works. Windows NT doesn't have a USB stack, so that could be a problem. Okay, ELO touchscreen. Oops. There was an error reading. Oh, that's great. Okay, calibration's fine. I don't care about that. So, turn that off. That makes my life a lot easier. Diagnostics. There we go. Everything there should be okay. About. It's an ELO touchscreen. There was an error writing to the registry. Okay, so something's not been configured correctly. But it still saved all my settings. So I bet they won't be there on a reboot. I'm going to play around with this a little bit more, but I'm going to do that off camera. So I think that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below. And this is CP666 signing off. Hope to see you next time. Till then, if it'll actually shut down. It's waiting for something. I don't know if you can even hear the sound. I can, but it's really quiet, probably because the volume's turned down.